Oh, got some soccer updates. Sorry about that. So, looks like we had a good weekend. Looks like we are holding this 34 channel. I don't know if you can hear that. I got two new chickens, little peeps. But just like the chicks, they're always making noise. They're running up, running around. We had the typical Weeble maintenance, which is super annoying. And we got this fairly large candlestick here, right? 34.6. I mean, it's a couple hundred, right? $200. Nice candle, right at the resistance. Volume isn't super great. We've got these wick ups where it's just shooting up, hitting its head, coming back down. Um, it just feels so weak. I always hate saying my feelings, right? Because everyone wants some sort of statistical inference or, candle reference, but, we got support and a resistance line here, right? We got support around 34 and change. And we got this 34.8 it's just going to hate it. We're going to live down here, it looks like, for a little bit, right? But my theory is we're going to tease the downside again. This is definitely not over from a sort of testing standpoint. Still have this idea of the spring, really penetrating, like 27.9. Whoops. Right? I think if we saw 27.9, that would just freak people out. It would go absolutely nuts. It'd be a paper hand party, and it would be just clogging the toilet down there as they flush their coins down the drain. But, again, that clogs up. Someone eats that up, and then they know they got it. Then they know they have the possession. And they've absorbed the coins. That's, I don't want to call it a fear. It's kind of like my one main concern here, right? The spring tests that we saw and the springs, fairly well managed, right? That's a test that could be called a spring. It's so close. It could, right? Like, you see how close that is from 28.2. That would have been like, if it got down here, if it hit below that 28.8, if it got to like 28.2, I'd say no denying it. But, and then we got the test, came out, and now we're hovering here, right? So again, it's teasing this 34K value. But I think maybe come down, maybe even hit off of this line here. Bounce up. If this was a spring test followed by, spring followed by a spring test, then what we have here is this should be our sign of strength. I mean, it was pretty good. We had a little test of support, went sideways, and then we had another SOS here. I mean, that's definitely a legit one. And then another one, this time, if we go back and look at the LPSs over here, very similar, right? SOS, LPS, SOS. Let me do LPS in yellow. LPS. Now this one did tail back down. And then we came all the way over here and had the secondary test. Now this one, if that was the secondary test, this one should not tail back down. So again, my only concern is that we haven't seen the true spring. You know, it's going to be on steroids. And, you know, not that it would be a huge loss, because again, I'm up on almost everything at this point. But if I buy back in, you know, I would get shook off my position, even though I think we're still going to come back down. These candles are just massive over here. If I go to the 1 hour, I mean, if we don't come back for this, I'd be shocked. So that's where my buys stop. I've got them all the ways down to here. 32.8. So I'd like to see that hit and then run again, but doesn't have to. I could go down that far and then go further. But, you know, as long as I could think out a couple scenarios and why they might happen, I'm okay with them happening.